Hello, it's Sandy from Sandy Cogdell Designs, and I can't tell you how much fun I am having playing with the Trinity Stamps, like outer space collection. It is so stinking cute. And you know, I don't even like sci-fi movies or anything, but I am having such a good time with these. Anyway, today I have a really cute shaker card for you. It's using mostly all of their new little goodies on the last release. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on my blog, sandycogdelldesigns.com, or on Instagram at sandycogdell. All right, let's get started. Okay, I'm starting out with a 6x6 piece of white cardstock. I am using the Space Fog stencil. I'm going to use the largest part first. And I debated on taping it down. I thought I might be able to hold it in place and use it, but I kind of thought, well, maybe if I just tape it at the top or the bottom, it'll hold it in place well enough for me to work with. I am going to start out using Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to place a fairly heavy layer of ink in those open spaces. As you can see, at one point, I'm just trying to hold down the stencil on the left-hand side, and it just was moving too much for me. So I did determine that it is probably best to tape down all four sides of that stencil, just because the edges are on the right and left are so thin. Now that I have those open spaces inked, I'm going to start working on masking those off and getting the largest part inked. I am using Villainous Potion Distress Oxide ink. I like the combination of those two purples together. They make a really pretty sky, especially for Halloween cards, but this color combination works really well for these outer space ones also. I am going to tape down the outside of those masks just to give me a little bit of extra hold as I work that ink down through the center of those two masks, up above, on the top and on the bottom. I know this piece is going to be bigger than what I need for my card, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to place that die to get that piece cut out. So I just decide I'll be pretty generous with my ink and ink all of those areas. After I remove the masks from those sides, I do go back in with a little bit of Villainous Potion and just kind of soften those edges. They seemed a little bit harsh to me, and I felt like it just needed to blend into the sky just a little bit more. Once I get that done, I will go ahead and let that ink dry fairly well, and then I didn't show it on the video, but I did foil that background piece using the new Starfield letterpress and citrine glimmer foil. I think it turned out just perfect. It's a great looking outer space sky. I'm going to use my A2 Clean Cut Layers die. It's the set A. And I'm going to cut out that little piece from my foiled and inked background. The size I am cutting it out to is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Make sure you save that extra piece from what you just inked and glittered. I'm going to use it on the inside of my card later. With that piece cut, I'm going to take some Black Soot Distress Oxide ink and go around all those edges. I think it helps to give that background kind of a better nighttime look. Now I need to create my ground for my little alien to stand on. This might be my absolute favorite stencil and die set. It's called Crater Layer Stencil and Die. I have used it on a number of cards, and I am sure I'm going to use it on a whole bunch more just because it is so handy and functional. You can do your background, you can either cut out the whole piece or just the top. It's perfect. Anyway, I'm going to start out with some mustard seed distress oxide ink. I'll get that area all inked in, and then I'll move my die down just a little bit. Use a bit of carved pumpkin distressed oxide ink to place in those craters. I used the die to cut out my little moon layer, and then noticed after I got it cut out that I still had some white edges up at the top. And I'm just going to take a little bit of mustard seed ink and blend that back in. I'm not going to worry too much about the bottom because that is going to be trimmed off once I determine where and how to place my little moon surface on my card. Now that I have my little moon piece cut, I did emboss the sentiment at the bottom. I'm using a sentiment that comes from the We've Come for Cake stamp set. It is just the perfect little sentiment for this card. There's also another one on that set. It's You've Abducted My Heart. And that one I decided I would put on the inside of the card. Anyway, I'm not sure where I need to locate the little flying saucer beam, is what I'm going to call it. So I need to build my little alien, who I've nicknamed Al. And so I know exactly where I want to place the beam. So I'm going to just go ahead and assemble him real quick and use him to determine where I need to cut it out. With my beam opening, I was able to adhere my little moon surface to the bottom of the card. I've cut a piece of black cardstock using the same die, cut to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to use that to guide me on where to place the beam piece that was cut out. That is going to be the back layer of my shaker. I'm going to start working on that black piece of cardstock. I need to create a well for my little shaker elements. So I'm going to use foam tape and just kind of build up the outsides all the way around. And then also along sides of the beam. I didn't have any black foam tape, which is what I would have definitely preferred to use on this card. Funny story is, once I finished the card, of course, my order showed up at the door, so I missed it by, I don't know, 20 minutes. Anyway, so the pieces that are going around the actual beam, I took a Sharpie and I just colored in those edges just because I just didn't want that white to show on the sides of that opening. I wasn't too worried about the outsides of the card, but I just didn't want it to show. I'm kind of particular that way when it comes to my shaker cards. Anyway, I am using 2 layers of foam tape to give myself enough depth for those shaker pieces to move freely in the beam opening. I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive tape to place the acetate over that beam opening so that I'm creating a window. If you can see on the thing, I had had a wee bit of a struggle session prior to placing this second piece of acetate on that opening. I cut that out of the video, but just to let you know that there are struggle sessions, and editing videos can really cut out a lot of those oopsies. I'm going to fill my little beam well with some little shaker elements. I am using the multicolor meteorite embellishment mix, and I've got to say this is such a pretty mix, and it is just perfect for these outer space cards. I'm in love with it. Now that I have that beautiful mix in my little well, it's time to seal up my little card. I'm going to go ahead and just peel off those protective tape pieces and place the top of my card on the black cardstock that has all of that foam tape buildup on it. Next, I'm going to build my little flying saucer. What I love about this die is that it comes in so many pieces, while at times could seem a little tedious. It does give you the option of using multiple colors of cardstock on it, which really kind of helps with that whole creative process. For this one, I'm actually using 3 different shades of like a turquoise, and then I used a light yellow for the little window, and then some, it's almost a gray glitter cardstock for the trim on the flying saucer. Again, the sky's the limit on this little piece because you can just change it around so easily. We are getting so close to finishing this card. Now I'm placing my little flying saucer and my alien on the card, and I quickly realize I need something in that upper left-hand corner. It just seems really naked. So I went back to my little stash and I pulled out the flight deck die, and there's a planet in that that's kind of like a Saturn planet, and I decided to use that because it was just big enough to fill in that opening but not overpower the card. I used a couple different colors of orange cardstock to cut that out, and then I went back in with a little bit of carved pumpkin distress oxide ink just to soften up those edges and to kind of tamp in some color. There's some little embossed areas or craters on that planet that just needed a little bit of highlighting. Now we get to glue on all the little pieces. So I'm going to start with my little planet, just because that's going to be in the farthest of the background, then my little flying saucer, and then Al the alien. Okay, true story about me. I very rarely finish a card. I always do the fronts, but it's pretty rare that I actually attach them to a card base. However, on this one, as I was working on it, I thought, gosh, what a waste to just trash that piece that I had ink blended and foiled. So I'm going to cut off a couple of little pieces that are going to be used for borders on the inside of my card. I've added those cutout pieces to a piece of cardstock that's been cut 4 by 5¼ inches. Now I'm just going to use the sentiment again from the stamp set called We've Come for Cake. We've Come for Cake to stamp on the inside of my card. I'll just go ahead and use my Misty to do that. For my card base, I'm going to use a piece of cardstock that is 4¼ by 11. I'll take it to my score buddy, score it at 4¼ and give that a good fold. Then I'm going to go ahead and attach the front of my card to that little card piece and the inside sentiment, and my card is complete. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I always enjoy making cards and sharing the process. Go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdill or on my blog www.sandicogdilldesigns.com. Thanks again, and I hope you have just a fantastic day. Bye-bye.